Sometimes the greatest change in our lives begins with a small step. In a beautiful kingdom, a lazy king lived in comfort without purpose, until a mysterious stone and child's simple words helped him discover the strength within. This is the story of King Veerasena, a journey of change, growth, and the hidden magic that lives in all of us. A long time ago, there was a kingdom called Kadamba. It was very beautiful kingdom. Wherever you look, there were flowing streams, rivers rushing with joy, and hills covered in lush greenery. A king named Veerasena ruled that kingdom. He was the ruler of a powerful kingdom. He deserved the love of his people, but he carried only one weakness, that was his deep-rooted laziness. He always woke up late. He wouldn't go to the court of justice. He paid very little attention to the problems of the farmers. He simply followed the decision of his ministers. His daily routine was relaxing in the palace, enjoying tasty food and listening to music. He got whatever he wanted in life. He lived with the false belief that true peace and respect come from wealth. He never realized that true peace and respect come from responsibility. Because of his irresponsibility, time passed by and the condition of the kingdom began to worsen. The farmers faced water shortages, the common people had no security, and the youth were left struggling due to unemployment. As the kingdom fell into such a terrible state, the people began to talk among themselves, saying that the king did not even care about his own responsibilities. Since he became king, this land has been filled with sadness. The elders at the home began telling the children about his laziness. Seeing all this, the senior minister of the palace became concerned. They held an emergency meeting in the palace. As much as they tried to make the king understand, he failed to grasp it. He wouldn't even listen to anyone's words. One day, a sage came to the kingdom. The sage was very old, but they had extraordinary wisdom. When they saw the terrible condition of the kingdom, they felt sad. They came directly and met the king. When the sage visited the palace, King Veerasena was lying on a luxurious silver bed. Even though the kingdom was in deep trouble, the king laughed without a care. Though his entire kingdom was in such trouble, there wasn't the slightest sign of concern on the king's face. The sage came near to the king and said, "O king, there is a wonderful power within you, but it's asleep. I brought a stone that will help you see yourself. It's a magical stone. When you touch it, you will realize your true worth." The king, listening to the sage without much interest, and said, "Really? I am already a powerful king. I have got everything in life. What else is left to gain?" Then the sage said to the king, "This stone will not speak to you, but if you touch it with genuine desire, it has the power to change you." The king agreed lazily. The next morning, the sage placed a black stone in front of the palace door. On the stone, in shining golden letters, were written the words, "Just touch me, and I'll show your true worth." People from across the kingdom came to see the miraculous stone. They touched it with devotion. The people of the town began to change gradually. Those who touched the lucky stone started to show self-confidence, courage, and a willingness to work hard. But the lazy king found it difficult even to get up and go there. He ordered, "Let someone bring that stone to my room." The sage smiled and said, "This is a magical stone. It only works for those who take the step themselves and touch it." A small boy standing nearby said to his father, "Our king is empty. That's why he couldn't see the magic of the stone." These words struck the king's heart. That night, the king Veerasena couldn't sleep. He began to reflect on himself. He took a step himself and walked up to the stone. There was a determination in his eyes. Though his hands trembled, his heart was strong. Yet he placed his hand on the stone. At that moment, a light suddenly went on his mind. The sage came near the king and said, "This is not a magical stone. It's your inner strength, your courage, and the beauty of your transformation. I only showed you a reflection of it. The very first step you took today is the real magic." From that day on, the King Veerasena's life changed. He began visiting villages every day. He held meetings to listen to people's problems and started paying attention to the farmers' issues. From that day on, the kingdom became even more prosperous. The people of the town began to speak of King Veerasena as equal to our god. The elders in every home started telling stories about the king with great pride to their children. The moment we take a step toward change, it wakes up the power inside us. True strength is hidden in our own determination.